Oh, God. Ah, there we are. Right, people, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I've been really looking forward to this chat for quite some time. I'm going to bring on my guest. I know there's been lots of talk, who it may be. Some people thought no one has guessed the right person. Let me just tell you that. No one has managed to guess the right person. But I am going to bring him on. He is a friend of mine, and I was introduced to him through an individual. I'll just call him Andrew. And I got to know this guy, and I flew out to where he lives, and I spent a few days with him, his wife, and his son, and probably some of the best cooking I've had all year, actually, from his wife. Anyway, I'm going to bring him on. So I've got all my questions lined up. I know you're going to have questions in the comments here. I will pick and choose what questions are going to come on, but I'm going to bring him on now. Here he is. Welcome, Bob. Thank you for joining me. I'm really humbled that you decided to do your very first podcast with me. So thanks for coming on, mate. I appreciate it.
Hello, Trevor. Yeah. First one ever. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. For those that don't know, this is Mr. Bob Craft that served not only in the parachute regiment, but then went on to serve in the United Kingdom Special Air Service. And we're going to get to find out a little bit about you tonight. And I just hope that my questions don't upset you that much that you have to deal with me offline.
Trevor, if they upset me, we go quiet.
Yeah. Well, listen, tonight, buddy, I'm going to have a wee Guinness, and I believe you're going to be You joining me?
There we go.
Yeah. Well, to your health.
Slanger.
Right, Bob. I've been fascinated by looking into what you've done in your career. Obviously, you joined a unit that myself and many others weren't able to reach those standards. But what made you want to join the military in the first place, though? What made you want to do that type of line of work?
Reality, I suppose, is the word. Like many young boys, children, because we're all children at some stage, and it's like from a council estate, I had no other option, really. I came from a very, like many of my comrades, many people that you've heard from the SAS and from the parachute regiment, I came from a council house estate, poorly educated, didn't achieve much at school. My parents, or my dad, wasn't particularly a good man, alcoholic, very aggressive, physically abusive to me. So, you know, I was escape. Escape is what comes to mind. Escape, which leads me on to the rest of my life, really. So at the early age, I didn't do well at school. I was physically abused at home by my father, beaten quite a lot. At school in those days, in the 60s and 70s, I was caned quite a lot. So, and as an example, I didn't do my homework. So I was caned at school for not doing my homework because I never did my homework. And then when I went home and said I've been caned at school, I got hit again for being caned at school. And the environment at home was so difficult that I couldn't do homework. So I was in this circle. So at the age of 14, I stopped going to school. Okay. Luckily enough, I joined the Army Cadets, which was lovely. And as I jump forward, now there's two people in my life that have an impact, and they're both called Woods. And the reason they're called Woods is one was Captain Len Woods, who was the captain in charge of Broadstairs Detachment, the Queen's Regiment back in the 72. And he saw me, and he saw a bit of potential in me, and he guided me, and that was my stabilization, really. And he knew that I was going to join the army. So in the cadets, I just potted along. I went as much as I could. My dad didn't like it, but I used to hide my uniform around the corner at my nan's and turn up in the old battle dress that used to iron on the brown paper. Difficult times. And then I went to the recruit office in Canterbury, I said, I want to join the army. And they said, okay, here's a bit of paperwork, get your mum or dad to sign it. So I forged the signature, took it back, and I went off to caution for 3 days. And then I saw this magic. I was going to be a bandsman because in the cadets, I was quite a good cadet. I progressed very well. The TA were there training me as well. And I was in the band. And then when I got to caution, they said, oh, you play drums and bugles. You should join the band or somewhere. I went, no, all I want to be is an infantryman. And then I watched this video of people jumping out of airplanes, and I never knew it existed, you know. So, and then off we went. Strangely enough, I got a certificate saying guaranteed entry to the junior parachute company.
Oh, wow.
So I went home and told my mum, and she was like surprised. She didn't realise she had to sign something. So I was like, and then that's the start of it, really. So basically, it's escape of childhood, you know.
Yeah. Well, so you went straight into parachute regiment then?
I went into junior parachute. I missed it because before my year in 1974, friends of mine who I'm in touch with now, they joined at 15.
Wow.
Then the government changed the law to 16 and a half, so I had to wait an extra year. So I joined a junior parachute company at 16, where I met a lovely man called Corporal George Woods.
All right, okay.
Another Woods, you see. So
Two in a row.
I had Len Woods in the Army Cadets. Then I had George was in junior para. Then he moved with me across to recruit company. And do you know what? I've just re-established contact with George Woods about 6-7 months ago. He lives up the Isle of Skye, and he was very concerned about how he treated me as a recruit. You know, because obviously it's tough, and he was tough. And I was 5'8" and weighed 9 stone. Right, never had a fight in my life, never argued with anybody, and there's this Scottish paratrooper running me around everywhere. But you know, he was good. He saw the potential in me, and he even said to me, because I finished my services, you know, at a different level, and he said, "I knew you were going there."
How long did you spend in the parachute regiment before you made a decision to attempt selection, and why?
Well, I actually wanted to go for selection earlier before I did, and I was advised to wait until I'm 26.
Okay.
To get experience, which is good, but in hindsight, I should have just gone. But in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have been. I wasn't ready, so. I did 10 years, and then before I went, I was posted to Depot Para to train recruits in '83, and that was probably one of the best times of my parachute regiment career. I was with a great platoon, Jimmy Moran with me, Tony Warby, Dougie Young, Mick Comer was a platoon sergeant. Fantastic platoon, and you know, and then when George was jumping back a little bit, when George Wood said to me, "Did I treat you well?" I said, "No, you were really, really hard on me, really tough." But I mirrored him with my recruits.
Okay.
You know, so you know, and then my recruits, hopefully, you know, many of them. I mean, bearing in mind they've all retired now, so this shows that the age is creeping on. All my recruits still talk to me.
Well, that's good then. You must have been a good instructor.
So they still talk to me. So no one's attacking, no one's sneaking up behind me with a sledgehammer. You know. So
you said your best time was in the Paro Depot then teaching. Did you use that time then to train? Was it while you were in the depot teaching you decided to do selection from there?
Yeah, I applied for selection as soon as I got into depot as an instructor. Training wise, not a lot to be done because we were training the recruits all the time. I used to run into work in those days, spend all day with the recruits training, running around and everything else. Then I used to run home. Well, when we used to go to Brecon and Sennybridge for our weapon training or our live fire ranges, I used to run over Penny Fan. I used to get dropped off at the Story Arms, run over Penny Fan, back to the camp in Derry Lines, have a shower, and then go for a few beers. So Depot was really, I mean, a lot of my friends who passed selection passed after being depot instructors, because we were really, really fit, you know.
Yeah.
And skinny.
Well, you would be, wouldn't you, especially kind of that weight. Whenever you went on selection, there's one thing I wanted to know, because lots of people out there, I mean, as you know, I mean, there's more people out today that stood in the balcony than actually took part in different jobs. But when you went on selection, was there a specific thing that you wanted to do? Because once, obviously, there's different troops and things. What was your speciality and why, Bob? What did you want to do?
First thing is, I love parachuting.
Okay.
I loved jumping out of airplanes, you know. So for me, on selection, I had my eye on air troop.
Okay.
Now, the good news is I ended up in air troop. The bad news is I replaced a good friend of mine. So Al Slater, who died in Northern Ireland in December, 40 years this year. He was a very good friend of mine. In fact, he was my best friend at my wedding. And we used to train at weekends in Brecon. So even when we were an older shot back in the late 70s, we used to, if we had a spare weekend, we used to get into his little Vauxhall van, was not Vectra, but Vauxhall van thing. And we used to go off to Brecon, park up, and we used to tab all weekend, walking over the hills with our full kit on, no weapons, but just weight. And then get a couple of hours sleep and drive back again. So me, him and Paul. Paul passed selection, I passed selection, Al passed selection. Al passed selection before me, but obviously he was killed, not obviously, but he was tragically killed in 84. I went to his funeral and I'm on selection in 85. And the night before, because he was my best friend, I was with the family, his mum, and we were with the troop, 7 Troop were there. Good friends of mine, John, who I'm in contact with all the time, and a few other boys from the Paris Peak, other people. And so they knew I was going to selection, and nothing was said. So I passed selection, thankfully. And on the day we were badged and moved, I was claimed by B Squadron. B Squadron claimed me, and I was put in B Squadron, and I was put in 7 Troop. So I ended up basically replacing Al Slater, which to me is, as Al is a remarkable, or was a remarkable soldier, and he's brilliant. You might have seen him on the Paras program back in the 80s. Lovely man, hard as nails mentally, hard as nails physically, and a really lovely bloke. So for me to replace him, in theory, was lovely. So it all, you know, I just wish he hadn't died so we could serve together.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was one of my questions, but you've just answered that. I thought you just answered that in one go. I was going to ask you straight. So you went into 7 Troop, you said, yeah?
7, yeah.
The one thing that I wanted to ask, because this isn't even one of the questions I had lined up. It's just something, because I'm now, as you're going, I'm trying to go with it. Right, you're in 7 Troop. What's it like whenever obviously you've done your selection, you've been badged, you're now in 7 Troop. Is it now clearly you've got guys that are at their peak. There's no passengers, you know what I mean? Everyone there is adding value. What's it like being in a unit where everyone is just so competitive to keep pushing forward? Courses are coming in before you even get a chance to put your name down. 3 guys have snapped them up. I mean, is it seriously competitive to try and get to the next level?
It can be, and at different levels it can be. Well, it is really. Is it competitive? It's different, because the way I view it is the parachute regiment is a tight team. The SAS is a loose team who work together, but it's full of individuals. And everybody is looking for the next move. But it's different because, for example, in the SAS you have A stream, B stream, and other streams. So A stream is you stay in uniform and you'll work through the squadron system. B Squadron is that you'll go off and do a training objective here and there. The other stream is that you go and disappear into another area.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're still at SAS, but you're not you're not actually working in the SAS, but you're working with other agencies, and that's what happened to me. So I diverted off, because, joking apart, on one of my CVs it said Bob is a good team player, but he works well on his own.
Well, yeah, I've got a good question just come in. You said that you were in the Paro Depot before you went there, yeah?
Yeah.
Grumpy Sapper, good name, has just asked, did any of the recruits that you trained in the depot come to join you in the regiment?
The answer to that, I'm very proud of it, is yes.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely yes. I'd probably say 7 or 8 from my 2 years in depot. And,
wow.
And in Gulf War 1, one of those recruits was in my patrol.
Oh, well, that's a certainly good tick in the box, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah. No. So a number of them, and the good thing is none of them wanted to kill me either, so it's quite nice. So.
Well, that is good. That leads me on to another one, because you said you had to join in the Gulf, right? See, obviously there's deployments you're not going to mention on here, but out of all the deployments that you went on in the regiment, is there any that stands out that you are most proud of? Which ones? There must be some things that stick in your mind.
I've got quite a few, and it's for different reasons. I was very proud of my patrol's efforts during the first Gulf War. We call it the first Gulf War because even then, on my map behind me, that's got Gulf War 1 written on it, and that was the day after the war finished, because we knew there'd be a Gulf War 2. You know?
Well, you were right.
Yeah. So I'm very proud of my patrol then and what we achieved.
Yeah.
I'm also very proud of what we did in Bosnia.
Okay.
I'm very proud of the problem I've got is I'm very proud of everything me and my patrols did. Africa, Zaire, they're back in the day in 91. I'm very proud of the teams I worked with in Northern Ireland.
Okay. I'm
very proud of the opportunity I had to work with agencies in other areas. So I guess I'm just a proud man of people I served with, to be honest.
Well, I was going to ask you what your personal experiences were of Gulf War 1. I mean, at the minute, to be fair, outside of the very famous book Bravo 20, outside of that, I don't think many people know what happened. What was your tasks?
I was lucky, and I shouldn't have been there, because at the time after one of my trips in the province, I was given I was given instruction to create a capability for the regiment to continue or modify operations in the province. Okay. So I was given a 1-year task, and I was basically back home in Hereford. Then all the Gulf War preparation was going on throughout 90, and then in 91, January 91, I was still in this new capability, and then B Squadron got sent out to the Emirates ready to assist with the war effort, because they were on the SP team. Then they got changed over, so it swapped over from G Squadron. So as soon as that squadron went out, B Squadron, I then manoeuvred myself out. I went to speak to a few people, and I said, that I'm handing over to X anyway. So I fast tracked my handover, and I arrived out in January in the Emirates with B Squadron. So I joined B Squadron, ready for deployment, really.
Right. So let's be honest, right? Before everyone followed up in the echelon, you were the first out, and you were probably setting conditions on whatever task you were given. Did you arrive right? Because it's been playing in my mind. You're meant to be United Kingdom Special Forces. You're meant to be top tier. You're meant to have everything handed to you. You're meant to have assets galore. Did you have everything? Did you arrive there thinking we are ready to go, or did you just have to, I don't know, borrow kit from, because everyone borrows kit from the Americans. So were you ready to deploy across that MSR, or did you have nothing?
The answer is no, because
Right, okay.
we weren't meant to be there. You know?
All right.
And here's the beauty, if that's the right word to use. Here's the knowledge. Is that the right word? Here's the explanation. Right?
Okay.
B Squadron was on the SP team, counter-terrorism team in the UK up until January. You know, and suddenly B Squadron transitioned into the Emirates, and G Squadron, who had been training in the desert for half a year, ready for this operation, were sent back to take over from B Squadron. Now, in my eye, it was a mistake, but even then, I don't think anybody believed that the regiment was going to be used in the capacity that it was used in. I might be wrong, but from people I spoke to, and I am known to get in to high circles for chats. So when I arrived in this location, everything was starting to get prepared and it was getting ready. And the first thing I arrived to, and they were going to rehearse a parachute drop from low level PX4. So they're talking about it, and so I love parachuting. So I went, okay. So why? So the first question I asked was, why are we rehearsing the parachute jump? Because a rehearsal parachute jump means you're going to receive at least a couple of injuries, you know. And then, unknown to all the lads on the ground, and I spoke to the pilot, I spoke to the jump masters, I spoke to somebody else, I spoke to somebody else. I said, look, I'm happy to jump, but if we can't, we should be saving this for the jump. So the jump got cancelled. Then we all got moved up to the forward mountain area, and in Andy's and Chris's book, it all says Al Juf, which is the forward mountain area. When we arrived there, there was nothing. There was nothing. There was just a standpipe and an area, nothing. And it was like, well, we haven't got you any tents or anything, boys, because basically no one thought we were coming, and then people thought we wouldn't be used, so we'd go back. But then it became evident that we're going to stay there as. So I didn't have a lot of equipment. So I went across and saw the Delta boys who were doing the search and rescue for downed pilots. And I had a pair of these DBS boots, so desert, those walking boot things. So I swapped those with a complete American uniform and boots. And then I got a buggy and I drove around the American base, and all lovely. Then I went and saw the RQMS Gonzo, who took me through depot as well with Woods. And he said, well, what do you want? I said, well, I want tents. He said, well, anyway, so tents came. I went to the missile A10, the A10 aircraft people. I went to see them, and they have loads of missiles, empty containers with missiles. I said, can I have those missile containers? Because they're airtight. So great for storage of weapons when you're in the desert, in a secure location. So I got that, and then we were short of ammunition. We didn't have any 20mm grenades for our M203s, but do you know what? I'll ask you a question. Have a guess what we had plenty of.
Here we go. Right. So what did you have plenty of, which you probably didn't need? I'm going to say you had plenty of knife, forks, spoons, and cups.
Rum.
Rum? All right,
Rum.
okay.
We had cases and cases of Captain Morgan's, or product placement, Captain Morgan's rum.
Hi? I mean, why?
Because we still get a rum ration.
All right, okay.
Or we did then. So we had umpteen cases of rum, but no bombs.
Did you use that to bargain kit off the Americans?
The Americans were dry, so I did. Yes, I did.
Well, why not?
So I went round. I saw this lovely big man on the guard, and he had belts of ammunition. I said to him, you know, have you got any 20mm grenades and ammunition? He went, loads. I said, right, can I have 2 or 400 rounds? He went, as many as you want. I said, great. He said, but it's going to cost you. I went, okay. And they're all National Guard lads, lovely people. So, all right. I said, look, I've got no cash, but I've got alcohol. And his eyes lit up. So 4 cases of rum, and I had 200 20-minute grenades, you know. And that's what we did. And I drove around and I got food and everything else. You know, so, yeah. I was in this little buggy, and I felt like one of those chaps off the old Dirty Dozen going around the ammunition depot and pretending.
Well, you were.
But it was good fun. I've always been a bit of a fixer. I like getting things done, you know. So I like getting in and getting things done.
So in that another thing I just threw in. So in that McNabb movie, Bravo 20, when Sean Bean's going around stealing bits of equipment, in a way that was you.
Better looking though, eh?
yeah. When you were younger.
Yeah, exactly. Without glasses, exactly. You know?
You didn't wear glasses back then. I know. Yeah.
No. Well, this is what annoys me now. I'm 66 now, and I wear glasses to read and most things now. And it's amazing when I was talking to a good friend of mine a few weeks ago, Jimmy, and I said, "Do you remember when we used to look at maps through a little luminous green dotty thing, you know?" And now, you know, I can't see a traffic light without putting these on. It's you know, but it's age apparently, so it's, you know, it doesn't make you a weak person wearing glasses.
No, it doesn't. But does that mean that when Bob goes to take his glasses off, that's when you should be worried because he falls?
I'm not an aggressive man, but
we've all got aggression inside us. It's just packed away.
It's packed away, and I've changed. I've changed now. I've not changed at all actually, but it's you deal with it with a grip rather than a, you know. I can make someone fall asleep by holding their shoulder. Well,
I'm sure you can. I've got questions coming in. Obviously, someone wanted to know your age. You've already answered that. There's questions. I know the answers, but this isn't because I read up on a lot of things. First of all, one of the questions coming in was, have you ever worked alongside US Special Forces? And if so, are they just as good? Can you enlighten some of the people watching?
Yes, I have worked with US Special Forces, especially Delta Force. Fantastic unit. I've worked with SEAL Team 6. Fantastic unit. I've worked with SEAL teams all through, and at different levels, but they're all dedicated people. My hat goes off really to Delta and to Task Force 160, the helicopter people, the Night Stalkers. They are, and I've flown with those boys all around the world, and they are absolutely fantastic pilots. They fly with no moon. The RAF, fantastic. Our special forces, Chinook and SD pilots are fantastic. But when I was serving, they always need a little bit of a moon, a bit like the old SOE during the war, you know. But yeah, so on the American side, people say, "Are they as good as you?" The answer is yes, because they're human beings who train hard. They have a different mentality than the Brits, but they've got the kit. And people always say, "Yeah, the Yanks have got the kit, but no, all the gear and no idea." They've got all the gear, and they have a good idea.
Good.
I have no criticism of Delta, SEAL Team 6, SEALs generally, Task Force 160, fantastic people. You know, if I could reinvent my life again, I would love to work with them boys. Fantastic.
Well, talking about working with guys, now I'm not mentioning any names that people don't already know about, but you were in a time, you were serving at a time when today these names are household names. What was it like working alongside the likes of the Bobs? I mean, you worked alongside Bob Shepherd. He's another guy that I hold really high regard for. That guy. Were you very competitive? Were you competitive towards each other?
No, Bob Shep is one of my. You never use the word hero, really, do you? But
No. Yeah.
Bob Shep was on my DS directing staff on selection, so he was one of the people that passed me to be in the SAS.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, so Bob Shep, I met him, and obviously I met him before selection. I met him at Al Slater's wake and all that sort of stuff. Bob Shepherd, he's ex-RAF regiment, but I would say he's one of the nicest, toughest, dedicated soldiers that I know. He gets a lot of criticism, but he's right there. And in fact, during the first Gulf War, the Bravo 20, because I actually deployed as part of the initial group, because I was Bravo 18. Then I came back because myself and Paul and Pete made a decision that we wouldn't deploy because there was nowhere to go. We come back, and then Bob and I sat in a tent, saying, one of the best ways to do what we need to do quickly is just to get a normal civilian Hilux pickup truck thing, cut the 50-gallon containers of oil, gas oil on the back of it, diesel, and me and him deploy, drive the two Bobs in the desert, middle of nowhere, satellite communication, target pointing, clear off it. And then we just move and drive away if things happen. But obviously that would never get past the planning. Yeah. But I would go anywhere with Bob Shepherd.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned there about that he gets criticism, and I find this with a lot of guys, if I'm honest. Guys that I know, and now you've mentioned Bob and yourself, guys that put themselves out there, and guys that are willing to take a bullet, and guys that you can't be a normal person if you're going to put yourself through all this stuff to move forward and do the ultimate test. So of course you're going to get criticized. Everyone gets criticized. I mean, you've been criticized. I get criticized. Most people get. But sometimes I think, yeah, that's nice. That's a feather in the old cap. Someone's calling me this. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've read. He wrote a book, The Circuit. I read that in the past, and he's written quite a few actually. I mean, I used to be in touch with Bob whenever I was on the old Facebook years ago, but Facebook's not good. Near's Twitter for mental health. So you've got to keep moving forward. I mean, I was really honoured and humbled that I was able to spend some time with you. Was it for February? I think it was. I went across and spent time with you, and just that place where you live. I'm not going to mention it here, but that place where you live. It must be great to get up in the morning and just go for a walk and just clear your head. You live in such a quiet place. Is that good for your mental health?
It's wonderful for mental health. And it's also fantastic because it gives me the ability to share it. When you had your darkness and you were being ambushed by trolls and you were in a bad place when we met. And that's why we are friends now. Well, otherwise, we'd never have met, would we?
No, yeah, I get it.
You know, so I always reach out because I'm in darkness quite a lot now and again. You know, but where I live, it's light. You know, I have my big black dopey Labrador. You know, we now have a mad hunting dog puppy. You know, but. Yeah, so for me, the environment I live in is fantastic, you know. But it also allows me to reach out, and then when I got a call via our friend Andrew, who said this chap needs a helping hand, and Andrew knows that I'm a mental health expert. I'm a mental health first aid supervisor, but I don't do it
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in so much trauma in my life, like you have, is that we know how to deal with it. And then when I met you on the aircraft in the car park, you sat in my little dodgy van and we drove back. And by the time we got to my house, I knew what you needed. And all you needed was a clip around the ear and a good feed.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, your wife is some cook. I enjoy all those meals.
Yeah. This is why weight management is a challenge married to my lovely wife, I tell you, you know.
Oh God. Sir, I was going to ask you, what do you do now though for downtime? Because you know, I know you've got the peace, you've got the quiet, but what do you do? What keeps, or should I say, what keeps you motivated?
Motivation is not hard for me. Living is enjoyable.
Mm.
I'm a funeral celebrant now. I'm a civil funeral celebrant. So I do services for people, and which I enjoy in a strange way because I'm helping people. So I'm trying to concentrate on veterans. So I do their services. In France, where I live nearby, it's mainly the very older people and all this sort of stuff. But again, it's helping them. What do I really do? Well, you know, I made a film back in, well, I didn't make a film myself, but in 2011, we made the film called The Veteran.
Yep.
Yeah, that was an interesting film with Toby Kebbell, the actor.
I watched it. I actually enjoyed it.
And Toby Kebbell, I have to say one thing. Toby Kebbell, the budget was quite tight. It was one of those little films that I didn't think was going to go anywhere. I didn't think it had any legs. I only got it because I had the producer with some personal issues. We did all that, or the director. And Toby and I, we had probably 9 hours to get him to do his part for the film.
Well, you've got someone watching now. Matthew Marsden, who's a Hollywood actor, is watching the chat. And Matthew, I know you produced movies, so Bob's got something in the pipeline, so get in touch with him.
Yeah, so we did The Veteran, which I think was quite a good film based within the budget. But it's I'm one of those sort of chaps that, you know, you got to do it before you can do it. You can't make a film until you've made a film. So I made this film with Matthew Hope, the director, and we co-wrote it together. And Toby Kebbell was, I have to say, and I don't blow smoke up most people's, you know, rear end, but when I met Toby, I just knew there was chemistry there for the actor. The bad news is he got into character very quickly as a depressed paratrooper. That's probably the good news. The bad news was when we went for a beer, he never came out of character.
Oh God!
So it's like drink. It was like I said, "Oh come on!" But he was brilliant, and we did weapon handling. And unknown to many people, when you watch the film, The Veteran, with Toby, and we got Brian Cox join us as well. But Toby, when you look, he had 200 rounds in his magazines for his Armalite. And if you watch the film, and if you're that anal, watch it, click on the button or click on your calculator, he runs out of ammunition at 200 rounds. Then he runs out of pistol ammunition at 13 rounds. And to spoil the ending, he dies because he runs out of ammunition and he can't change it. So, but his weapon handling and his ability to do it, I actually allowed him to do live firing with me in preparation for the film.
Well, Bob, I'm going to say something there. The fact that you were the military advisor, an ex-special forces guy as a military advisor on that movie, I would expect nothing less.
The live firing. I mean, I would never let anybody do live firing, but I knew he could do live firing. So we've been chatting recently, and I've been procrastinating, if that's the right word. I've been dragging my heels we've got potential to do a few more movies, and Toby has moved on. He's in LA. He works a lot. Obviously American. If you Google his name, he's everywhere now. Fantastic actor, and more importantly, a really nice guy. We're collaborating now to do more. Now that I'm retired and I've got more time and I enjoy writing, so there will be more. There's either going to be a movie coming out, or we've had people express an interest in my story working with Toby for a series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's in the pipeline. I've got to make it happen, which we will do. But you know, it's one of those things. Yeah, Toby. You know, and Toby is now Toby's Toby Kebbell. You know, as he said to me before, he's not handsome enough to be James Bond, but he's good enough to be better than that.
So there's another question come in. Yes, Bob's already alluded to the fact that he's worked with the SEALs. So I was going to ask you about what's next then, but you've started to cover that, really, haven't you? I know you've got lots of things in the pipeline, but are you going to put out a book by Bob Kraft?
Well, the challenge is, I've always said I would never do it.
Right.
And I've started writing my memoirs mainly for my kids and my grandkids, because surprise, surprise, I have grandkids. You probably don't believe that, Trevor, looking at my age, but you know. Yeah.
You're too young.
No, exactly. But the interest I've had from the network about my memoirs is actually because I'm not the loud, naughty man. I'm, you know, I've worked in areas where I'm not seen, not heard, or whatever. So
yeah,
it's like, you know, different areas. So the answer is my memoirs are in. I'm looking at the corner here because I've got a pile of paper in the corner. I was writing them just for the kids, but without being big-headed, they're bloody interesting.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, I know. I mean, I've spent time with you, and
exactly.
I think it would be awesome. There's a lot of things that I think we're all fully aware that, you know, when it comes to security and certain things, we will never be able to sort of put it out, because it's not the fact that it's about doing the right thing. It's about keeping lives. And that's a question I didn't ask you. That's one. Thank you. Right. Special forces are used as a last resort to go and eliminate people that are evil towards society. But I want to know, how many people did you actually save? How many lives did you save? Because you're sent out to do jobs, aren't you? You're sent out to go and do jobs. It's usually to save life or prevent things. But do you know?
Actually, the answer is quite straightforward. Yeah, I do.
All right. Okay.
I know the direct impact I've had on people in certain areas.
Okay.
I might not know the direct impact I've had on a broader area.
Okay.
There are children today walking around Northern Ireland and the United Kingdom who would not be here if people like myself and my comrades had not intervened. Wow. During Gulf War I, if we hadn't intercepted the Scud missiles, that missile would have created death on the scale of hundreds, if not thousands. Independent operations I've been on, we have eliminated people that were going to kill a person or a group of people. So I'm actually quite proud of my regiment that, even with the bad press we're getting and the interrogation we're getting from some of the media, I'm very proud of what we've done and what we achieved. And what I don't understand in modern times now is we're being crucified or investigated for murders in various countries. Like now we've got the Afghanistan inquiry going on. We have the change in regulations or inquiries for Northern Ireland. But, people like me, my comrades, serving people, wake up in the morning, they fly into the darkest places in the world and take on the most violent people.
Well, yeah, I agree.
There's not many people that would wake up in the morning, kiss their wife goodbye because they don't know they're going to come back.
And that's quite a dark way to look at it. I get it, but 100%. And do you know what? It pains me. I mean, I've managed to have some wonderful friends, and it's just shocking. I honestly don't believe that many people in the UK, every single politician, every one of them, would not be able to sleep safe at night time if it wasn't for men that are willing to sacrifice themselves for the bigger picture. But yeah, I mean, it's quite upsetting to see what's happening to the people that keep our country safe. And I get a lot of stick about it because I think they had to disband a squadron in the Australian Special Air Service. A squadron was disbanded because of allegations. But it's a shame. I mean, you can't expect to have these guys that are trained to go and keep us safe and trained to keep the world safe. And there's one thing. No, I'm not going down that road. But I've got my own way that I know, and everyone that knows me knows how I would deal with the situation, whether it's right or wrong. Sometimes the situation dictates that you carry out a certain thing. Anyway, right. So have you had interest at the minute in, or have you told, you haven't told anyone, have you, about that you want to write a book? You haven't told anyone that you want to do a memoir?
Not really. No, not really.
No.
Not really. I mean, it's still one of those things that, I don't need to do it. I don't, I want to do it.
I think
I mean, even the background to not necessarily Bravo 20, but because when Bravo 20 were on the run, because I was Bravo 18, so we came back, and then when they're on the run, I know what happens at headquarters when they're on a run. So it's like interesting, and then so there was Bravo 18, which is my patrol. There's Bravo 19, and there's Bravo 20.
Yeah.
So it's like the three patrols are Bravo 20 deployed, Bravo 19 deployed, Bravo 18. My patrol came back, and the challenge I've got in my head when I hear these discussions is that work it out. 2 Chinook helicopters, right? There's not enough vehicles. The biggest mistake for Bravo 18, Bravo 19, and Bravo 20 was Schwarzkopf, the American general.
Oh, Norman Schwarzkopf.
I said, great bloke after the war. Not necessarily great before the war, because me being me, when I arrived, I was they used to call me Bob Draft because I got everywhere.
Right. Okay.
I get everywhere. I love information. I love information. So I collect information. So I get everywhere. And I network my way in. Right. The 2 squadrons were meant to deploy before the air war started. So they would have been up by the MSRs before the air war started. The American, Schwarzkopf, said, I might be pronouncing his name wrong, then he said, no, we don't need anybody on the ground because we've got satellites. Of course, what happened? Air war started. The boys were only halfway ready to go. So then they start moving the day after the air war started. So they're moving slower because everybody's on alert, even more so from the threat. And they were taking longer than expected. The main thing is cloud cover came in. So the satellites couldn't see. So the order came, I don't care what happens, I need eyes on that MSR now. So if the squadrons had gone in as planned initially, and Andy Massey, the Deputy Director of Special Forces, said to me in a chat, they should have gone by now. If they'd have gone, then 20, 19 and 18 would never happen. So, the good news is no one would have died.
Yeah.
The bad news is there wouldn't be any publicity about Bravo 20 and 19, all good friends of mine.
Yeah.
So again, it's all part of the bigger picture. There's no one actually explains. And then when the rescue mission was being discussed, because I came back out with 18, and we're back in the tent, and the CO and RSM, who RSM Pete's written a book, John the CO hasn't. We're in a tent, and it's like, right, what do we do? What do we do? We had 2 Chinook helicopters to mount a rescue operation. And I sat there with John Holmes and I said, unless you know exactly where they are, I wouldn't expect you to come and get me. Because no one knew where 20 was or where 19 was. So,
Wow.
There's so much more than it. And so you hear the stories and the explanations from various books, and people's memories are different. My memory is different. So therefore, people who write or talk about it, it's 1991. It's a few years ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like me meeting the Arnhem Boys in 1974. It's like So it's like
there's still questions coming in. First of all, I'll let you know that a lady called Mary thinks you look wonderful for 66, right? And there's another one come in saying, "Okay, Bob. Basically, what was your favorite? What was your choice of weapon? Now, obviously, it depends on the job, but what was your favorite sidearm?" He has written here.
Right, my favorite sidearm, depending where I was. Right, so when I was covert or clandestine, as they call it, I used to wear a six hour pistol.
6 hour.
So 6 hour, 226, 228. Now I've got a 229. So.
Okay.
In fact, let me just clarify that. Toby and I both own 229.
Apologise.
Right. That's what you get for gulping.
It's been sitting there, Bob, during this chat, and for some reason when I opened it, it came out the top. I apologise. Yeah, you've hardly took a drink.
So,
you've hardly had a drink of your Guinness.
I know. I'm looking at it. Yeah. So my sidearm at the moment back then was 226. I used to have when I was covert and going out for an aggressive action in my car, bulletproof car, I'd have a G3, Technicolor G3, and I would have a HK53 as a backup, and then on my person I would have a 226, and on my lower leg I'd have a Walther P38 just in case.
Just in case those 3 don't work.
Yeah. I couldn't get through airport security with those, but there you go. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. You think it'd have some sort of dispensation to get through airport security. So,
what are you reading?
See these things I keep putting on the screen. These questions. Can you see them?
Right.
No.
I've got one. I can see one. Okay, Bob. What's your favourite fire sign?
Well, what I'm doing here is I'm looking at the questions coming in, Bob. I'm looking at the questions coming in, and then I'm putting them up. That's what I'm looking at. So I'm getting lots of questions coming in, and I'm just making sure that I pick ones which you're going to be able to answer. I mean, there's a lot of chat going on, and people are enjoying it. Yeah, right. There's other thing. There's loads. I've got loads of questions, but I don't want to go off on a tangent. When are you next in the UK? Obviously, don't give us the exact date. I mean, I see. Well, I follow you on your Instagram, your social media, but I find it quite sad that most of the time that you're in the UK, you're over here because you're carrying out funerals for airborne forces, which is it's sad, but you do something which you've done a few times, and I find it quite strange. You actually go up the Penny Fan to spread people's ashes. I mean, and you tab up there carrying them. I mean, is there not an easier way?
Well, I tab up there, but sometimes the family or a closer comrade to the deceased will carry the ashes.
Yeah.
But I always walk up there, and I'll always walk up there in my suit.
I know you do, Bob, and you're 66. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Now I walk up in my suit. Marks and Spencer suit's brilliant. Doesn't crease. Walk up. I wear my little walking shoes. Go up there, and then I carry my speakers, and we do a full-blown ash spreading ceremony. We get permission from the National Trust of Brecon Beacons, lovely people, Michael, who's very supportive, and we do the whole thing. And I wear a suit because I just think it's dignity for the people that I'm spreading. You know?
Yeah. Well, I've got a question.
And actually, joking apart, it's part of what we do now.
Yeah, of course.
Walking down last time, I'm in my suit with the tie on her ass, and the lady said to me, "Excuse me, do you mind if I ask why are you wearing a suit?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a legal claim lawyer." And that raised a bit of a laugh. But no, we do it in the suit. We're all nice, and so we did. We do it, and we've done Denzel Connick, who is very well known with the South Atlantic Medal Association. I did his funeral in Cardiff, over 2,000 people.
Wow.
2,000 people. 300 motorbikes, phenomenal. The lady in charge of the crematorium had to go and lay down because she had a panic attack. We did a ceremony, was an hour and 10 minutes long, and then in May we scattered some of his Denzel's ashes at the Penny Fan, because most paratroopers back in our day, the first experience you had of a heavy walk was at Penny Fan. My first walk with George Woods and everybody else was Penny Fan. So so we do that every year if we can.
Right, Bob, I have one final question coming in, and I'm going to say, Maureen wants to know, what do you class as a perfect day of fun and relaxation? So what do you do to have fun and relaxation?
My perfect day is to wake up in the morning early, make sure the dogs haven't dirtied my utility room and let them out. And that's always when I open the door and turn the light on and it's clean, yay, they go off. I then get my walking stuff. I do 16 to 22 kilometers every morning, walking, not running, walking. Come back and then chill out, go for a nice lunch with my lovely wife, and I relax by learning new things.
Yeah,
I'm currently back at school, believe it or not. I am now a mature student.
What are you learning now?
I am at school on every Tuesday morning and Friday morning.
We'll not talk. We'll not mention what you're doing because it will allude to where you are. Just leave it.
Yeah. I'm learning Swahili.
Yeah, good. You say had to think about that. Sorry about
We've
that.
already mentioned it. We've already mentioned it twice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, Bob. I'm going to now let you go and enjoy your night. Go and sit down with your beautiful wife and maybe have a glass of wine. But I'm going to say thank you very much for
You're welcome.
coming on. It's been a pleasure.
And I'm glad you're looking well, mate, after everything you've been through.
Well, when you're in the gutter, the only way's up, mate. The only way's up. And
you only lose if you don't get up.
Exactly. And we have to keep moving forward. But listen, buddy, Thank you for coming on tonight. I have really enjoyed this. I know everyone in the chat's enjoyed it. The questions been coming in. It's been great. And we'll chat offline, as they call it. But thank you. I'm going to let you go and spend time with the wife. And we'll chat tomorrow, buddy, okay?
All the best. Take care.
Take care, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, wow. Well, everyone, thanks for those that joined me tonight. Thanks to Debs and all those in the chat. Thanks to those that gifted people membership. I do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed tonight's chat. Plenty more to come from Bob in the future. As you can see, he's got loads of projects on the go. So stay tuned and I'll keep you up to date. Thanks for joining, everyone, and go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care.